Welcome everyone, and I'm actually going to be doing something somewhat different for this episode. Obviously my YouTube channel is called Talk and Stalk. It's completely devoted to horror, but I'm actually into films of most genres. And I'm a huge DC fan, as most people who know me will tell you. The whole comic book movie genre is probably going to be one genre that I will be focusing on as well. But just to let you know that this is still going to be primarily horror. The channel is still going to be called Talk and Stalk. I am still going to be consistently covering horror movies, but every now and again I am going to actually veer into other genres as well, and just kind of like create a kind of a division, a separate division for the channel. Now, as I said, I'm a huge DC fan. Now, a movie that I was really excited for was The Suicide Squad, of course, being directed by James Gunn. I've literally just got back from the cinema, having seen it. And, 2016 Suicide Squad, I really did not care for. Hate's a strong word. It was certainly a film that I was massively disappointed with. You know, the Suicide Squad comics I've actually been reading for years now, and it's a real shame. I think ultimately the film was massively hindered by countless reshoots, countless rewrites, and it's not the film that it could have been and should have been. It's a film that had some potential. Now, obviously, with this movie, it's kind of a semi-reboot, if you will. There are certain cast members returning, but what I love about the Suicide Squad is there's a great air of unpredictability with them comics. And, typically the comics tend to give a lot of these lesser known characters time to shine. Disposable characters, some would say. And this movie throws a lot of new characters into the mix. There's quite the cast there. And James Gunn, I went into this film quite optimistic, in fact. James Gunn, I think, has done a great job with Guardians of the Galaxy. And I've really been hoping that he can do for Suicide Squad what he did for Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, this is going to be a spoiler-free review. I'm just going to be giving my thoughts on the movie. As I said, I went into this film quite excited. I've liked the look of this film. Everything I've seen thus far, I've actually liked. And I'm just going to say this. I walked away and I thought this was really good. I really enjoyed this. This was leaps and bounds ahead of the 2016 film. No disrespect to David Ayer. I realise that the film he was trying to make is not the film that we got. There was a lot of studio interference. James Gunn, I believe, had full creative control on this movie. And I thought this was a great fun ride. This was a film right from the get-go. This movie takes no time in getting started. This is very much, if you will, kind of a throwback to the action flicks of yesteryear. And I will say this, that this movie makes fantastic use of its R rating. This movie is ultra violent. This film is pretty damn hardcore. And, as I said, being the Suicide Squad, it's not really a spoiler. There are deaths. There are characters from this team that are killed. One of which I was actually really surprised with. I was like, wow, I couldn't believe they did that. Like I said, I'm not gonna go into spoilers. Now, obviously, Margot Robbie returns as Harley Quinn in this film. She was probably one of the best, if not the best thing to actually come out of 2016's The Suicide Squad, in all honesty. I think she's truly cemented herself in this role. This was, in my opinion, the best we've seen of Harley Quinn. I loved Harley Quinn in this film. Now, I don't want to go into details or anything like that, but during the course of this film, she actually spends some time away from the rest of the squad. Amanda Waller, Viola Davis is great. Again, I think she was one of the best attributes in 2016's The Suicide Squad. Amanda Waller is a character, the leader of the team, if you will, the woman that sends these people out on these suicide missions. She's as bad, if not worse, than the actual criminals that she sends out. And even though I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of Waller in this film, what we do get from her in the screen time she's given is great. We just see how much of a bitch, excuse my language, Amanda Waller is. Jai Courtney returns as Captain Boomerang. Again, a character they really didn't do anything with. They didn't really do anything constructive with in 2016 to Suicide Squad. I do like Captain Boomerang. Obviously, he's a Flash villain. He's become a lot more popularized thanks to the Suicide Squad. He's very much a core member. We get Rick Flag. The actor's name is actually escaping me at the moment. He actually returns as well. Now, the new car, we get Michael Rooker as a character called Savant. John Cena as the Peacemaker, who looks like a complete and utter doofus in this film. I think he actually said that he's kind of a doofy Captain America and that, if you will. Now, John Cena I don't rate as an actor or anything like that. I would be lying if I said that John Cena did not make me laugh during this film. Idris Elba is a great addition to the cast in this movie as Bloodsport. Now, I'm going to quickly say this as well. With the R rating, it's clear this film lets you know it's R-rated, okay? When there's not violence happening, there's a lot of F words, there's a lot of profanity. It's almost like James Gunn was trying to fit as many F words into this movie as he could. From a comedic standpoint, I really did kind of like some of the back and forth between Idris Elba and John Cena's Peacemaker. They're both similar characters in a respect. They're both killers, expert marksmen, and there's this kind of, back and forth, this kind of competition between the two. And I didn't hate John Cena, in all honesty. As I said, I don't rate him as an actor or anything like that. In a way, I'm kind of sick of seeing him like here, there, and everywhere right now, which is ironic because apparently you can't see him. Yeah, who else do we get? There's a character called Javelin. We get Mongol. Weasel, which is actually motion captured by James Gunn's brother, Sean Gunn. As I said, I'm not going to go into spoilers. I probably will do a spoiler review at a later date. Polkadot Man, one of Batman's lesser-known villains. Believe me, a character as cheesy as what it sounds. But even with these lesser-known characters, with some of these characters, they actually do a little job of fleshing them out somewhat. We do get a glimpse, however small, into some of these characters' backstories, if you will. Polkadot Man obviously is a character that has disappeared over the years for, you could say, good reason. He's a very cheesy character. And we obviously get Ratcatcher too, who is actually the daughter of Ratcatcher, again, one of Batman's lesser-known villains. They do some good stuff with these characters. With some of these characters, they do some pretty good stuff. And, there's a lot of visual flair to this film. Visually, it looks great. I think, there is slow-mo. There's some very interesting, actually, visual shots that we get in this film. I'm not going to go into them, but visually, I thought this film was great. I think it was very good to look at, very, some great visual aesthetics to this movie. One of the other characters, of course, is Killer Shark, who is now very much a core member of the Suicide Squad in the New 52. Started off as a Superboy villain. Now, I went into this film actually expecting Killer Shark to be a character that I really like. And in all honesty, I did. I walked away really liking this character, voiced by none other than Sylvester Stallone. Now, there was also Nathan Fillion in this film, as well as I can't actually remember his name, but it's not a spoiler. If you've seen the trailer and you find out very early on in the film that he can actually detach his limbs. It's kind of used for comedic effect, if you will. But as I said, this film takes no time in getting the ball rolling. I think this film has no real pacing issues at all. It moves along. I mean, I believe it's 2 hours, 12 minutes long, but it moves along at a pretty brisk pace. There's a couple of moments in the film, I would say, that maybe the pace slows down somewhat. It was kind of like, I was kind of wondering what direction this is going in. It kind of slowed down somewhat, which is perfectly fine. At the end of the day, sometimes, a movie needs breathing space. It needs a little bit of time to... So it kind of slowed down a bit, but then something happens and it kind of completely redeemed itself for me. This movie does have I think, some unexpected moments. There are some unexpected moments here and there. No one's truly safe. You actually feel there are moments in it. Now, I knew going into this movie, okay, that there are certain characters or character that's probably not going to be killed off because they're too commercially viable, okay? But I'm just going to say this, and I'm not saying who does die, but I will say this. There are moments in this film where I thought to myself, damn, this character can die. This character can actually get killed. It kind of felt like, you know, anything's a go. No one's truly safe in this movie. There were moments here and there that kind of had that. I think James Gunn, sorry, has done a great job. I think he's done a really good job. And part of me actually thinks this could be my favorite film in the DCU. I'm not saying this is my favorite DC film, full stop. It isn't. But as the DCU goes, which of course, you know, it's been a little hit and miss at the end of the day. You know, I think the DCEU has kind of struggled to find truly solid footing. Obviously, there hasn't been any great level of consistency. This, I thought, was just, like I said, a great fun ride that did have me laughing here and there. I thought the action sequences were very well done. I thought there were some great action sequences, you know, in this film. And, you know, as I said, it's a 15 certificate. Yeah, it certainly earns it. This film earns it within the first few minutes, in all honesty. I don't really have any glaring flaws, aside from maybe certain characters I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of. Certain characters I would have liked to have, without going into it, I would have liked to have maybe gone a little bit longer in the film. But all in all, I mean, I think David, I can't pronounce his surname. I thought he did a good job as Polkadot Man. Now, obviously, he's appeared in DC before. He was in The Dark Knight in a small role. He was actually in Gotham, the TV series. He tends to play villainous kind of characters, actually. He was suitably creepy in Prisoners. He just has, to me, he's one of them actors. He doesn't really have to say much. He just has a face. He just has that look of despair and like he's given up on the world, and you know, stuff like. And I thought he was perfectly fine as Polkadot Man, in all honesty. And again, they do something certainly for comedic effect concerning his backstory. With Ratcatcher, we get what's obviously presented as an emotional moment in the film, her relationship with her father, who is actually, I won't say because it could be deemed as a spoiler. We obviously get to see her father in flashbacks. It was kind of a surprise who was actually playing her father to me. But yeah, I mean, Harley Quinn, I think Harley Quinn had some really good moments in this film. And there is one character I feel like was pretty kind of underutilized. Peter Capaldi plays the Thinker, and they don't really do much with him. In all honesty, he doesn't really have that much in the way of screen time. The big villain that we get in the movie, you know, in the final act of the film, well, yeah, again, I don't really want to say too much, but at that point, it turns into a real big kind of Godzilla kaiju film. Kaiju, I'm not sure if I'm even pronouncing that correctly. But by the end of the movie, in that final act, we really feel like we're watching a team. During the course of this 2 hours and 12 minutes, I actually felt like I was watching a cohesive team. And through it all, there was just humor. There was humor that worked for me, in all honesty. I didn't feel like I was being bashed across the head with it. Certainly, there's a lot of humor, but the humor that we did get, for me personally, it worked. And it made me laugh. And I never really thought I'd be laughing at John Cena, with John Cena, at John Cena, whatever. But he made me laugh. He made me laugh in the film. And yeah, for me, Suicide Squad gets a big thumbs up. I don't think there's ever a reason to really return to the 2016 film. I think this is a step in the right direction. Now, obviously, with a Flash movie coming out, obviously, I think that's going to be the big reset button. So I don't really know what's going to happen to the future of the DC cinematic universe. But I will say this. I would love to see a follow-up. I would love to see James Gunn directing again. So that's pretty much all I want to say regarding this movie. I probably will do a spoiler-free review at some point. There's a lot of stuff that I would like to talk about, but I don't want to ruin it for people. So I would certainly say it's worth a watch if you're a DC fan. I know some people have been put off by, they saw the 2016 film. They have no interest whatsoever in this film. Fair enough. I feel like you'd be missing out, though. I feel like you'd be missing out. Don't judge the 2016 film on this movie. So yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say. And thanks a lot to everyone that listened. I will be back again with a horror review, a horror ranking. That's primarily what the channel is going to be used for. So thanks a lot to everyone that listened, and I'll be back again soon. Take care.